Good afternoon, everyone. Hurricane season isn't over yet as we have 6 more weeks left. If we expand the view, take a look all the way out there in the Atlantic. We had an active tropical wave that came off the coast of Africa that's entering the main development region, and most indications it's fairly bullish on this system to continue to remain westbound and eventually head into the Caribbean somewhere in the 7 to 10 day time frame. So we'll definitely have to be watching this one. But closer to home, we had that significant system that impacted California a couple days ago with all the heavier rains and the snows and Sierras. That swung across Utah this morning with some heavier snows, the mountain ranges, and also into Wyoming, through the Rockies. And that will eventually set the stage for more rain for the Dakotas. But further south, you can actually see the moisture returning from the Gulf into Texas, back into Oklahoma. That will set the stage for marginally induced storms tomorrow. And then the big setup heads over into Arkansas as we head into that Saturday time frame. But here where we are out in the tropics. The National Hurricane Center did in fact highlight this area with this tropical wave that we talked about that's continuing moving westbound. As you recall, we've had 12 storms, and most all storms this year have kind of fishtailed and curved out to sea, but this one is actually going to be different, guys. This is one of the systems that's actually continuing westbound and eventually will be heading into the Caribbean. It's fairly rare that we haven't really seen a storm in the Caribbean or yet even the Gulf this year, but we still got 6 more weeks left to hurricane season, and yet we do find ourselves with a potential storm, what would be named Melissa. But we still got plenty of time to talk about this, another 7 to 10 days by the time we get into this area of the Caribbean. But obviously Jamaica, the Caymans, these areas will have to basically take hold and heed of this system, because it does appear most guidance is really starting to come together, especially on the ensemble guidance, the GFS, the European. Now, this is about 7 to 10 days from now, but you can definitely see a cluster of potential ensembles trying to develop what would be named Melissa. So definitely we'll have to keep an eye on that. So overall for tomorrow, we'll watch in that low pressure center now coming out of Utah and swinging up into the Dakotas. They'll have more instability for them in the form of heavier thunderstorms. And then we'll have to watch further south as it kind of gets together as we head into Friday into Saturday. But there's the rain that will be coming on board later on this afternoon into tomorrow that will be swinging across Wyoming, snow into the higher elevations in the mountain regions, all rain at the lower elevations in the Dakotas. And then, yes, where you see the tight isobars, that's where the winds are likely going to be picking up as this system will continue to move across from west to east. And as it does, it will induce a line of thunderstorms. This is likely on Friday night as we head into Oklahoma, areas of Missouri, back into Illinois, all the way up into Wisconsin, back into Michigan. Some of these could be on the strong to severe side as we head into the evening time, if not the overnight time frame. The Storm Prediction Center has in fact included a marginal risk for severe weather, mainly gustier winds and some lightning and some smaller hail at times for the Oklahoma City region, back into Tulsa, getting into Wichita, into Topeka, further north into the Kansas City region. That wouldn't likely be until Friday night. And then, of course, out ahead of it, we've got compressional heating and a dry line. So we're talking well above average temperatures, and we're even potentially talking some record high potentials back further south into Texas. I know Austin's likely shooting for 95, 96 on Saturday. Dallas is right now forecasting 93. That would tie a record high from 2005. But yeah, this is well above average, 10, 15 degrees above average for this time of year, out ahead of this trough coming in from the west. And once that moves through, we'll be looking at more storm development as we head into that Saturday afternoon time frame, as that kind of dip in the jet stream will buckle and then eject out over into the plains. So we'll be clipping, say, the Dallas area, northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma. Main setups likely going to be into Arkansas, back into Missouri. This would likely extend further north into Illinois as well as into Indiana, with some likely flooding rains for them. Definitely some heavier rains, maybe 2 to 3, 4 inch amounts is definitely not out of the question for them. But right now, the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted that slight risk. It's been this way since day 6. So it's been pretty consistent with this overall setup, as they've been watching this for an extended period of time now. So really, the area has not really changed at all from just even 3 days ago. It still includes areas of Dallas, but it's mainly east of the I-35 corridor, and it's going to be more of an isolated threat for them, more scattered in nature further northeast. We're talking like Texarkana region, those areas, back into Shreveport, but definitely literally the entire state of Arkansas should get at least under the gun of severe storms, and some of those could be on, some larger hail, and even some tornadoes would likely not be out of the question, especially highlighted over Arkansas and into Missouri. There's a lightning density index. So we are expecting a lot of heat. We've got a lot of, obviously this area is plenty warm, right? So the atmosphere will be primed. So they just got to get some colder air aloft, which they will with that front off to its west. And we're going to be having a lot of shear at the surface. We're going to be limited surface moisture, especially there into Texas, but a lot more surface moisture to work with, as well as into Shreveport, back into Arkansas, getting into southeastern Missouri. And then you're dealing with some heavier rain. So this is a map that I kind of stopped from. We're talking like midday Saturday to midday Sunday. So for that 24-hour time frame for your weekend, we'll likely be looking like this, where the setup is going to be essentially east of the I-35 corridor on Saturday afternoon within the Dallas region, mainly East Texas, and then really kind of getting going as we head into Arkansas, back into northern Louisiana. And then the heavier rains will likely unfold as we head into Missouri, but especially as they'll start training into Illinois, getting into Indiana and portions of Michigan here. Yes, we could be looking at 2 to 4 inches of heavier rains within that 24-hour time span. And then, of course, further south, we've got moisture return as well. We'll be inundating areas of Kentucky, back into Tennessee, as well as into areas of the southeast. And eventually this will swing into West Virginia as well as Ohio, and that will likely unfold on Sunday afternoon as this continues to propagate from the west to the east. Those areas across Virginia, back into Ohio, West Virginia, getting into Pennsylvania by then. This will likely not be on the severe side, but some of those could be on the stronger side with some gustier winds, 40 to 50 miles an hour, likely not out of the question. And then further south, it's just a quick shot, right? They call them cold fronts this time of year, but you got little drop down and then it warms right back up. So by the time we head into Monday for next week, this is October the 20th, guys. And yes, we're still talking about 90s on the board for a good part, if not almost all of Texas there. They're just waiting for it to be over as it continues to come back. Those 90s don't seem to want to go away. 80s further north into Oklahoma, and then of course 70s, which is still above average for this time of year, back into Kansas, get into Missouri. So we still have warmer air to contend with even as we head into next week. So it's all compliments of this stubborn high pressure that's been kind of locked over this region. It goes away, settles at times, but then it just comes back. And then with it keep coming back in nearby, you got sinking air, right? You got a lot of drier air in the mid latitudes, and it's just tough to erode this capping, this high pressure that's been locked over this region. We've got some weakness right further north, so it is going to be cooling down somewhat across Minnesota, getting into Wisconsin, through Illinois, through the Ohio Valley region, as much of the south will be on the high and dry side for Monday and Tuesday of next week. So if you combine all those next 7 days, we're still talking about above average temperatures, if not well above average temperatures, for a good part of the central US. The only cooler side, if not closer to normal side, would be out west, where we've got those significant troughs coming in one after another. And then, of course, out east, where you've got some instability and some rain to contend with as well across the East Coast. And overall, the next 7 days looks like this, right? So we had that system come through California, left a pretty good dosing of rain for them. Now you're on the drier backside. So you got the ridge of high pressure in place for the Southwest, much of the midsection of the country, much of Texas, just the borderline setup as we head into that going into the next couple of days, mainly east of I-35, northeast Texas, but especially Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, and then, of course, heavier rains as you extend into Indiana, Michigan, back into Ohio. Further south, you've got lighter amounts, if not none, but heavier amounts as you swing out into this across the eastern seaboard, and then some heavier rains as you get further north back into New England, as much of the Pacific Northwest will also remain on the overall wet side. And then, of course, snow will be on the higher elevations of Idaho, Montana, back into Wyoming. We're talking higher than 6,500 feet, typically by then, between 65 and 9,000 feet in elevation for them. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update while I protect you before and after the storm.